Nyarlathotep. I am the last. I will tell the audient void. I do not recall distinctly when it began, but it was months ago. To a season of political and social upheaval was added a strange and brooding apprehension of hideous physical danger. I recall that the people went about with pale and worried faces, and whispered warnings and prophecies which no one dared consciously repeat or acknowledge to himself that he had heard. A sense of monstrous guilt was upon the land, and out of the abysses between the stars swept chill currents that made men shiver in dark and lonely places. There was a demonic alteration in the sequence of the seasons. The autumn heat lingered fearsomely, and everyone felt that the world, and perhaps the universe, had passed from the control of known gods to that of gods or forces which were unknown. And it was then that Nyarlathotep came out of Egypt. Into the lands of civilization came Nyarlathotep. Swarthy, slender, and sinister, always buying strange instruments of glass and metal, and combining them into instruments yet stranger. He gave exhibitions of power which sent his spectators away speechless, yet which swelled his fame to exceeding magnitude. Men advised one another to see Nyarlathotep, and shuddered. And where Nyarlathotep went, rest vanished, for the small hours were rent with the screams of nightmare. I remember when Nyarlathotep came to my city, the great, the old, the terrible city of unnumbered crimes. My friend had told me of him and of the impelling fascination and allurement of his revelations. And I burned with eagerness to explore his uttermost mysteries. My friends said they were horrible and impressive beyond the most fevered imaginings, and what was thrown on a screen in the darkened room prophesied things none but Nyarlathotep dared prophesy. And in the sputter of his sparks, there was taken from men that which had never been taken before, yet which showed only in the eyes. And I heard it hinted abroad that those who knew Nyarlathotep looked on sights which others saw not. It was in the hot autumn that I went with the restless crowds through the night and up the endless stairs into the choking room to see Nyarlathotep. He greeted us, saying he had risen up out of the blackness of 27 centuries. And that he had heard messages from places not on this planet. He spoke much of the sciences, of electricity and psychology. Then, shadowed on the screen, I saw hooded forms in its ruins and evil faces peering from behind fallen monuments. I saw the world battling against blackness, against the waves of destruction from ultimate space. Then the sparks played amazingly around the heads of the spectators. And when I, who was colder and more scientific than the rest, mumbled a trembling protest about imposture and static electricity, Nyarlathotep drove us all out. Down the dizzy stairs into the damp, hot, deserted midnight streets. We whispered to one another that we were not afraid, that we never could be afraid. We swore the city was exactly the same and still alive. But then the electric lights began to fade. I believe we felt something coming down from the greenish moon. For when we began to depend on its light, we drifted into curious, involuntary formations, and seemed to know our destinations, though we dared not think of them. Once we looked at the pavement and found the blocks loose and displaced by grass. When we gazed around the horizon, we could not find the third tower by the river, and noticed that the silhouette of the second tower was ragged at the top. Then we split up into narrow columns, each of which seemed drawn in a different direction. One disappeared in a narrow alley to the left, leaving only the echo of a shocking moan. Another filed down a weed-choked subway entrance, howling with a laughter that was mad. My own column was sucked toward the open country, and presently I felt a chill which was not of the hot autumn, for as we stalked out on the dark moor, we beheld around us the hellish moon glitter of evil snows. Trackless, inexplicable snows, swept asunder in one direction only, where lay a gulf, all the blacker for its glittering walls. The column seemed very thin indeed as it plodded dreamily into the gulf. I lingered behind, for the black rift in the green-litten snow was frightful, and I thought I had heard the reverberations of a disquieting wail as my companions vanished. But my powers to linger were slight. As if beckoned by those who had gone before, I half floated, quivering and afraid, into the sightless vortex of the unimaginable. A sickened shadow writhing blindly past ghastly midnights of rotting creation, corpses of dead worlds with sores that were cities, charnel winds that brush the pallid stars and make them flicker low. Through this revolving graveyard of the universe comes the muffled beating of drums and the thin whine of blasphemous flutes from unlighted chambers beyond time, the detestable pounding and piping whereunto dance slowly and absurdly the tenebrous ultimate gods, the blind, mindless gargoyles whose soul is Nyarlathotep.